we have what is a very innovative study that calculates the true cost of living, the average true cost of living of seniors in New York State. Because of the fact that we're very proud that Brooklyn has the largest amount of seniors in New York State, we decided to launch this event here, right here in Brooklyn, and who better than with the champion of the seniors in Brooklyn, but the borough president, Marty Markowitz. And at this point, I want to thank the borough president's office, especially Nan Blackshear and her staff, who've helped us, and Sophia Jones also, who helped us be in this beautiful room, and they've done a wonderful job with us. And so, without further ado, I think I'm just going to start bringing up people who are going to go through the entire. This was a one-year process that we had in terms of putting this report together. So we have the different people representing each of the components that it took to come out with such a comprehensive report. So at this time, I'm going to ask Joan Kurianksy, who is the Executive Director of the Wider Opportunities for Women, to come and say hello.
Good morning, and thank you, Maria. And I'm so glad you explained why we're here. There are many, many New York seniors throughout the state, but it is particularly gratifying to be here with the critical mass. And I want to just say how delighted we are to partner with the New York Senior Statewide Senior Council, who is our lead partner in this effort in New York State, and who has indeed contributed mightily to the year-long planning that has resulting in today's press conference. I also want to, although he is not here, thank the borough president, because I don't know if this will come out in the discussion, but President Markowitz really began his career in aging as a very young man, and I think you'll hear his enthusiasm for this issue that is born out of real experience. So we appreciate him hosting us today. We have a number of other panelists who you'll see are really some of the leaders in the senior aging movement here in New York, and I'm going to take a personal privilege to also acknowledge two folks who are very near and dear to Wider Opportunities for Women. Merville Regan, who is on our board, is here today. And Merville, I think many of you probably know her. And also our dear colleague and supporter from Atlantic Philanthropies, Laura Robbins. So thank you, both Brooklyn, the New York State Council, and WOW Friends for being here today. We are here today to better understand what it takes for seniors to be able to age in place in dignity. Daily, we're hearing about the struggles that many retirees are facing, even greater than before, as a result of the economic downturn. At the same time, the information which we're going to present today makes very clear that for many older people in the New York area, they've already been suffering. And the recession only exacerbates that, not only because there's a loss of assets, but also because costs continue to rise and the value of a dollar continues to decrease. We're really very pleased that we are sitting in New York where the Mayor Bloomberg, has made a real effort to try to understand and be proactive in defining what is poverty in this community and how it affects people of all ages. At the same time, Congress and the administration are looking at ways to reduce costs, and all options are on the table, including programs like Medicare and Social Security, that we have all paid in for, and that really continues to be the bulwark against more seniors being in poverty. So with today's release, we think that there will be new tools that can be used to address these issues and challenges that we are facing. The New York Elder Initiative is part of a larger national initiative launched by Wider Opportunities for Women, the Elder Economic Security Initiative. And WOW is an organization that celebrated its 45th anniversary. We've been working on issues of family and women's economic independence and opportunity for those many years. And one of our basic tenets is that it is critical that every member of a family be economically secure at each stage of their life. And that in turn has tremendous implications on what one's quality of life is as you move into your older years. We partner with statewide organizations and then coalitions around the country to use the research framework tools that we have developed, adapting them in conjunction with our partners to make the best case for the issues that we address. To date, WOW has partnerships in 41 states and reaches over 2,500 local and state organizations. The Elder Security Initiative itself is a multi-year project that began several years ago. Delighted to say that we are now in 10 states. We will, by 2012, I'm getting a little commentary here, by 2012 we'll be in 20 states, really a critical mass of states with state partners as wonderful as the State Action Council and coalitions as diverse. The goal of the Economic Security Initiative is to provide tools to state and local advocates, program providers, to ensure that policies and programs are developed to help seniors age in place and with dignity. Undergirding the initiative is the Elder Economic Security Index, which we will just call the Elder Index, which is, I would say, both a very rational tool and, in its own way, a transformative tool that measures what it costs for seniors to meet their daily cost of living based on where they live, family circumstances, housing, and health status. My colleague, Alison Gotlieb, of the Gerontology Institute at the University of Boston, University of Massachusetts in Boston, will share with you the very detailed, data-rich index. I will talk a little bit about what does it mean, because on the paper it's numbers, and you know numbers can easily stay on a shelf and not have much impact at all. But instead, because of the tremendous work of our partners around the country, we are already seeing the Elder Index and the Elder Initiative take hold in substantial ways. Some of those have to do with program design and evaluation, some have to do with public policy, and some have to do with informing, empowering seniors and others who advocate on behalf of seniors or their own futures in moving toward what would be a retirement that would be one that you could make choices in terms of your own lives without the restriction of having little income to do it. I'll just give you a few examples. In terms of the strategic planning and programming, we have state units of aging, area agencies on aging, United Way affiliates throughout the country now using the Elder Index as a guide to develop strategic plans, and in the case of foundations and United Way, to revisit their funding priorities to make sure that the resources they have are being directed in the most effective way to support particularly vulnerable seniors. Service providers are using the Elder Index to illustrate the value of senior services and supports, whether it be housing or nutrition, through a frame not of poverty but of economic security. And in terms of public policy, your neighbor just down border there, New Jersey has already passed legislation using the New Jersey Elder Index to revise the eligibility period for the state's senior property tax freeze from 3 years to 1 year, which is significant for many. In Wisconsin, the Elder Index has been used in state budget negotiations, and in one county it was used to increase the annual cap for the county's Supplemental Emergency Energy Assistance Program. California, we have an exciting piece of legislation that I hope we're going to mirror, frankly, on the national level as well throughout the country. It is a bill that was introduced called the California Economic Security Task Force, which includes a number of provisions. It's a bipartisan bill, but most exciting, it requires the state to do an inventory of state programs that are aimed at either reducing poverty or promoting economic security. Once these programs are analyzed, there will be a set of politically viable, we believe, and responsible, fiscally responsible policy recommendations to improve economic security. And the legislature has also set a goal of increasing economic security for those most vulnerable by 50% as a result of what these new policies that will be recommended will be in place. We are also seeing that in states like Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, SE partners are conducting outreach to elders on the availability of income support programs and to systematically chip away at the stigma that are often barriers to seniors who are reluctant to enroll in programs. They're somehow embarrassed by it, despite the fact they've often paid into the government to get these kinds of programs. The usual moniker in several of these campaigns are, "It's not your fault." And working with broad-based state coalitions like that in New York, Massachusetts, can reach so many people with the hope that some of the information that we're providing through this index will encourage folks to make plans when they can, where necessary, draw on public supports at the same time that we are trying to make policies that are more sensitive and reasonable. What we see on the state level is mirrored in the agenda that the SC Project has on the national level, and we work collaboratively with our state partners in some of these national efforts. Of course, there are many, many different issues that we could point to. The 5 that we are placing our greatest emphasis on a federal or national level are the following. Defining measures of economic well-being and poverty, retirement security, including safeguarding Social Security and promoting pension reform, making long-term care more accessible and affordable, improving access to employment and training for older workers, and using the framework of economic security and the Elder Index in policy making. While all of these issues are relevant to you in New York, I want to briefly comment on just 2 that I know is of special interest to our New York partners. The importance of measuring poverty and economic well-being, and the second relative to safeguarding Social Security. As I mentioned before, we owe a debt of gratitude to Mayor Bloomberg for his leadership in New York City, looking at a different measure of poverty than is currently used, which is an outdated federal poverty level, and drawing on recommendations by the National Academy of Science, drafted almost 15 years ago, but yet much more current than the 1964 methodology of the federal level. And President Obama's administration has also set aside funds, the first time since 1964 has the government done this, to develop a supplemental poverty measure based on these recommendations. We think this proposed measure is a first step in the right direction will begin to help us accurately count who is falling into poverty, but is really only the beginning. Even in terms of that particular measure, WOW has weighed in with Congress on ways to improve it. And one anecdote I want to share with you is that when we had a meeting with our SE partners from around the country, we met with the drafters of the congressional legislation, and to our partners' dismay, recognized that while child care was considered a cost, there was no item in there that recognized the need for elder care or dependent care as a cost. Well, you can imagine the drafters got an earful, and in the recent reintroduction of this bill, elder care is there right alongside of child care. What we're here today to talk about, and what we think is the important next step, is to move from just having a measure of deprivation, which is what a federal poverty level will be, no matter what its name, no matter what we call it as new or supplemental. What we really need to be doing is measuring economic security, what it takes. You'll hear from Alison how minimal the poverty level is, which gets us nowhere near what the real costs are. And if we're going to develop policy directions and programs, we believe that the measure that should be used is one that is realistic, reasonable, and which offers concrete information about costs that we all can expect to have to expend. So today we are hoping that while the city continues importantly to work on a poverty measure, that we not forget the need for a second measure. Certainly Congress is well aware of that, and in addition to their poverty measure, they are suggesting there be a second measure, what they're calling a daily standard of living, which is something that we will continue to give input to. Lastly, I want to just mention Social Security, which continues, as I said earlier, to really be the bedrock of economic stability for seniors, especially here in New York, where 25% of seniors rely solely on Social Security. I mean, a very large proportion. And we'll hear more about its challenges, not in terms of solvency as much as in adequacy, that the Social Security system is not meeting some of its expectations as it relates to reaching out to the most vulnerable. On the other hand, it is, without the Social Security income, for most people, they would be moving into poverty very, very quickly. So a lot of our focus is on looking at issues of adequacy. We are cognizant of the impact that the newly created National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform may very well have on the outcome of Social Security policy. We are hopeful that with a bipartisan commission, there will be opportunities to look at the impact of Social Security, its importance in the lives of so many people, as well as creative ways of dealing with what the country is coping with the deficit, and not inextricably link Social Security to solutions within the deficit. We think that transparency will be essential in the implementation of the operation of the commission, as well as in whatever the implementation of the recommendations are. But this is an important time for us to weigh in, and we believe that we have a tool, the Economic Elder Index, to weigh in an affirmative and positive way to demonstrate the value of providing seniors with the necessary income to be able to age and place, and in dignity. I know that we will have much to learn from our New York partners as they begin to utilize the New York Elder Standard. We look forward to that, and we just thank you so much for being a part of the national initiative. And on behalf of my WOW colleagues, of which two are here, Stacy Sanders and Alicia Howell, we really thank you for being part of our national movement. Thank you.
And now we're going to change the schedule a little bit because of the scheduling concerns. We will have one of the champions of Brooklyn seniors and of Brooklyn in general. We have the borough president, Marty Markowitz.
Thank you. And we've got a couple of mature people among us, Maria, and among them, I must tell you, growing up as a boy, I was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, and when the Dodgers moved to La La Land, I must tell you, I hate the Yankees. I still do. Sorry, even though it's 53 years since the Dodgers left us, although I was at Yankee Stadium last week for the opener, I stayed 1 inning, and I felt so bad. I really did. I know but unless you're of my age and were as intense about the Brooklyn Dodgers as I was, you'd understand what I'm saying. But when the Mets came into being, most Dodger fans went to the Mets. You know that. And of course, we all watched them as they won their World Series. And I must tell you, among the stars, the greatest stars of the Mets, is someone who's right in this room right now, Art Shamsky. Art Shamsky. 1969 Mets. So there we go. But one of the greatest players the Mets ever had, Maria. And he's here visiting me and some others. So that's why I'm coming up here. Then I have to run down and have our meeting. And it's an honor to have you here, Art. Really. Thank you very, very much. One of the best ever in baseball. Maria, let me thank you very much. You were kind enough to deliver the shirt and everything from that wonderful gentleman in the Dominican Republic, and I met him, and it was nice hearing from him, and I thanked him for thinking of me. So thank you for bringing that back from the Dominican Republic, and let me welcome everyone to the Republic of Brooklyn and commend all of you involved with the Elder Index, the New York Statewide Senior Action Council, Executive Director Justin Cunningham, and Board Member Nancy Yost, Wider Opportunities for Women, Executive Director Joan Kurianksy, and the University of Massachusetts Boston Gerontology Institute, and Senior Research Coordinator Alison Gotlieb. Thank you all for being here. I don't know if Commissioner Lilliam Barrios Paoli is here. Is she here? Is she here? Where is she? Oh, there she. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm sorry. By the way, I got to tell you, the mayor chose right when he chose this woman. She is just outstanding. We've had a wonderful relationship in her previous responsibilities, and now heading up our senior agency in New York City. It's really a pleasure to have you there in leadership role. I know that we're going to have some tough days, as you know. This budget is not going to be a happy one for us, perhaps even next year as well, but somehow, I know having you at the helm, you'll be there fighting for us to make sure that seniors get their fair share. Moderating today's proceedings, Maria Alvarez, Executive Director of the Brooklyn-wide Interagency Council on the Aging Educational Fund. Now, the Elder Index is exactly the kind of in-depth study that Brooklyn needs right now, and I'll tell you why. It's common knowledge that Brooklyn is New York City's silver lining. I like that. But more than that, Brooklyn is New York's gray haven, with the largest population of seniors, or, as they call them now that I'm 65, mature residents, than anywhere else in New York City. In fact, Kings County has the largest mature community than any other county in the state of New York. As you know, some of you may know, I finally became a member of the Medicare Club just a month and a half ago. I feel it's great to be part of this very exclusive club. And we all know that life truly begins at 65. And for those of you that are not yet 65, I've never met a person who doesn't want to be part of our club. Not one yet. Every young person I meet says, yes, I hope and pray someday that I'll be a member of that Medicare club. So I must tell you that now that I'm 65, I'm also officially, as I have been for a couple years, but I'm really officially a member of the Senior Center that I founded when I was 27 years of age. the Senior Citizens League of Flatbush on Ocean Parkway. Now I can walk in knowing that I truly belong, and they kept that seat waiting for me, nice and warm for years, and there you go. It's easy to see why we can say to ourselves how fast it goes. It truly goes fast. It was just yesterday when I founded that senior center, and here you go, Maria, here you go. Now I'm getting the counseling on Medicare, you know, Part A, B, C, it's amazing. Anyway, it's easy to see why seniors from elsewhere flock to Brooklyn, and why those who have been here all their lives decide to stay. When you consider all that Brooklyn has to offer, and sometimes we ignore it. We have walkable neighborhoods, which is true. Public transportation, unbelievable. Higher education institutions and medical centers, we do. For restaurants and cultural attractions, unbelievable. There's no better place, in my opinion, to spend one's sunset years than here in Brooklyn. In Florida, as far as I'm concerned, you snooze and you veg out. There's no question that Florida is about vegging out. Say what you will about Brooklyn, it's never boring. That is for sure. I've heard a lot of names, boring never. So it's incumbent on all of us in public service to make sure that all seniors, regardless of income level, have the quality of life here in Brooklyn that they deserve. The Elder Index will help us devise new strategies to do that, which we'll need, because today's seniors have unique needs. To coin a phrase, these aren't your grandparents' seniors, and I can tell you why in 2 words: baby boomers. Right now, boomers account for more than 1 out of every 4 New York City residents. And guess which part of New York City has the highest concentration of boomers? You're